Even though you can't pick the family you're born into, some of these families need to be avoided. As one of the 5 families that dominate organized crime in the New York region, the Bonanno crime family has a history longer than my arm, so let's try and keep it concise. This family was seen as the most brutal of the 5 families during the 20th century, so don't go making all buddy-buddy. Their origins can be traced back to the town of Castellammare del Golfo, located in the province of Trapani, Sicily. Their boss, by the way, was Giuseppe Pepe Bonanno, and his older brother and advisor, Stefano. I hope I didn't butcher my Italian. The clan's strongest ally was the leader of the Magaddino clan, Stefano Magaddino, the brother of Joseph's maternal grandmother. During the 1900s, the 2 clans feuded with Felice Buccellato, the boss of the Buccellato clan. So in 1902, Stefano arrived in New York and became a powerful member of the Castellamarese clan. After the deaths of Stefano and Giuseppe, their younger brother Salvatore took revenge by killing members of the Buccellatos. So by 1903, Salvatore married Catherine Bonventre, and on January 18th of 1905, she gave birth to Joseph. 3 years later, Salvatore moved his family to New York City and began establishing dominance and control in the Castellamarese community of Williamsburg, Brooklyn. So while operating in Brooklyn, the Castellamarese leaders were able to secure the criminal organization's future. As of 2017, the family had 110 established members and over 500 associates. They were responsible for numerous planned killings and accidental deaths over the years, to the point where I spent like a half an hour today trying to count them all. I kept getting lost in my count. There was too many. Genghis Khan rose from obscurity in a small corner of the Mongolian steppe to form the largest land empire in history. For the Mongols, the family was the central pillar of society. Genghis' sons and then grandsons extended the empire to reach from the western shores of the Black Sea to the Pacific. So these Mongols, often outnumbered, conquered through their mastery of tactics and psychological warfare. So if a city or an entire people surrendered, they would treat them well. They'd allow them to enjoy the fruits of a secure world. If they resisted, well, you and your city are gonna feel the full fury of the enraged invaders. Despite all the violence that took place as the Mongols extended their rule, once they were in power, the lands were safe, they were well controlled. In many cases, this represented a distinct improvement from previous conditions. Subjects had considerable personal liberty, such as the freedom to follow their own religion, but at what cost? Because this comes with a price. Some experts calculate that 11% of the world's population died because of the Mongol expansion. That's a lot of people. The Ptolemies of ancient Egypt ruled between 305 to 30 BC and are responsible for such a long list of mysterious deaths that they had to be listed today. So they viewed family members as a fight to the death, where you constantly try to eliminate your closest relatives before they did it to you. So let's say P IV killed his mother, who had previously killed her husband because he was having an affair with her mother. So then he married his sister Arsinoe III, who was immediately killed after her husband/brother's death. Her son, P V, had his mother's killers ripped to pieces by an angry group of people. P VII was either killed by his uncle or his father, we're not super sure on that one. P VIII married Cleopatra II, but began an affair with her daughter, Cleopatra III. He had his son cut into pieces and then sent them to his mother. Ugh. So P IX tried to kill his mother, Cleopatra III, then married the first one, and then another sister, both called Cleopatra. P X married the daughter of P IX, Berenice III, and P XI also married Berenice III, who was either his sister or his mother or both. And after 19 days of marriage, he had her killed, and he was promptly torn to pieces by an enraged Greek mob. And that's just the highlights, folks. Time for another one of the New York 5 families, the Genovese crime family. Also referred to as the West Side, they were founded by Charles Lucky Luciano in 1931 until being renamed after boss Vito Genovese in 1957. Originally in control of the waterfront on the west side of Manhattan, as well as the docks and the Fulton Fish Market on the East River waterfront, this family was run for many years by Vincent the Chin Gigante, who feigned insanity by shuffling unshaven through New York's Greenwich Village by wearing a tattered bathrobe and muttering to himself incoherently to avoid persecution. If it works. It works. So this family is the oldest and the largest of the 5 families. Finding new ways to make money in the 21st century, they took advantage of lax due diligence by banks during the housing bubble with a wave of mortgage frauds. They appear to be the most organized and powerful family in the US, with sources believing that Liborio Barney Bellomo is the current boss. Maybe. Unique in today's mafia climate, the family has benefited greatly from members following Omerta, which is a code of conduct emphasizing secrecy and non-cooperation with law enforcement and the justice system. So while many mobsters from across the country have testified against their crime families since like the 1980s, this family has only had 11 members and associates turn in history, which is not a lot. Nay. They're known for crimes of, oh boy, let's see, racketeering, killing, labor union infiltration, extortion, illegal gambling, substances, loan sharking, bookmaking, truck hijacking, fraud. I could keep going, but we only have so much time. The Scottish Bean Clan. It might sound like a kind of yummy dish, but this isn't for recipes. We're not cooking here. They were a 45-member clan in Scotland in the 16th century that killed and feasted on over 1,000 people during, just 25 years. According to legend, Bean and his clan members were eventually caught by a search party sent by King James VI and lost their lives for their heinous crimes. Alexander Bean was born in East Lothian during the 16th century, where he eventually met a vicious woman named Black Agnes Douglas, who shared his inclinations, and she was accused of being a witch. So after some robbing and the consumption of just one of their victims, the couple ended up at a coastal cave in Benay Head between Girvan and Ballantrae. I tried. The cave was about 200 yards deep and the entrance was blocked by water during high tide. So this was a great hiding spot for 25 years. They produced 6 daughters, 8 sons, 14 granddaughters, and 18 grandsons. And yeah, the grandchildren were the products of keeping it in the family, if you get what I mean. So this clan thrived by laying very careful ambushes at night to rob and end individuals or small groups, bringing the bodies back to their cave where then, well, dinner time! They pickled the leftovers in barrels and discarded what they didn't need. Sometimes that would wash up on nearby beaches. This strategy was used to help conceal their crimes and lead villagers to believe that it was animals that were attacking these travelers. Look, the body parts and disappearances did not go completely unnoticed by the locals, but the clan stayed in their cave by day, took their victims at night. So they weren't exactly out and about. They were eventually captured alive, and they met their end without trial, because folks were like, yeah, that's subhuman, you don't need a trial, your life is over. Sonny and his fellow men had their fun parts cut off and thrown into the fire. They lost their hands and feet, and then game over. Now the women, tied to stakes, burned alive. Makes sense for the time period. And finally for today, the Bender family. We can't talk about their very fun nickname, but you know what I'm talking about. So this was a family of mass killers. They lived and operated in Labette County in Kansas, US, back in 1871 to 1872. So we've got John, his wife Elvira, their son John Jr., and daughter Kate. And we don't know how many people specifically they killed, but if we're estimating, at least a dozen travelers. What do you mean by travelers? Well, they would visit the family's bed and breakfast, and then they'd be hypnotized to stay for dinner, given a seat of honor at the table, which was positioned over a trapdoor into the cellar. So they'd be distracted, and then somebody bops you in the head, you fall through the trapdoor, game over. And that's all for today, folks. I've been Alexa. See ya!